China virus? North Carolina Tar Heel virus? Whose virus is it anyway? Well, we know one thing for sure now. It's a weapons-grade virus they have released on the public. Now we know why people were selling their stocks. Coming up next on Deceptions of the Ages News. Now, before we go any farther, let's just take a trip to Costco. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Deceptions of the Ages News for another all-important briefing. Now, the first thing that I want to tell you is that I don't know how often I'm going to be doing these updates. As more information comes out, I'm trying to put it out as fast as I can. The best thing to do is hit the subscribe button and like these videos and share them, because I'm being blocked by YouTube. They are taking away my views, so it looks like nobody watches my videos. And I have so much proof of this, I'm going to be doing my own video of that. But please hit subscribe, ring the bell, and you'll get notifications of these videos when they come out. I'm also running for governor of Washington State, so I need to keep citizens of Washington State informed of what's going on. Otherwise, we're really behind the lines, and we have a real blackout as far as information. So hit the subscribe button, share, and follow me at Heines for Gov on YouTube and Facebook. All right, so let's go into what this virus is and what's going on around and about it. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is there have been these conspiracy theories, they say, coming out of China saying, oh, the U.S. started this virus. Now, there's also people in our government saying, well, that is just a conspiracy theory, and people in the G7, well, they just know it's a conspiracy theory, and nobody's taking it seriously. Now, so you have China on one side, you have basically the U.S. and European nations who have been affected on the other side. So what's the real truth? Well, the real truth is about as frightening as you're going to get until you go back to Stephen King's The Stand. All right, now the information I'm going to quote to you, I'm quoting from a YouTube video, and I'm going to put the link in the description. And this is Professor Francis Boyle. He's a professor of international law at the University of Illinois. So what he has said is that there's just a couple things. It's kind of a dry video, but I just want to point out some of the highlights. The first thing is that I want to introduce a phrase to you. It's called gain of function. Gain of function is vocabulary used only, according to the professor, in the field of bioweapons research. And so this thing has a gain of function. And what they call the gain of function is basically its efficiency rate, and how quickly it can spread. So they compare it, SARS is 10%. So SARS is the baseline. So that means 10% of the people who get it are going to die. But with this coronavirus, China virus, or as we might see, University of Tar Heel virus, University of North Carolina Tar Heel virus, this could be 18%. 18% of the people who get it are going to die. Now, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the term decimate, but to decimate a population is not really to wipe it out, where you take out 40 to 50%. Basically, it's just kind of a weeding that they're doing using biological weapons. Okay, so 18% of the people who catch this are going to die. So where did this thing even come from? Now, this is going to get very frightening. And if you don't believe it, or if it's too scary for you, please turn it off. And if you don't believe it, go check the link and listen to Professor Francis Boyle himself talking. All right, so basically what they found is that in the SARS outbreak, and also later in the Middle East, there was a virus called the Middle East, same thing as SARS, but when that virus came out, these were not as efficient as they wanted them to be, so they started messing with it, and they got to the level of the 18%. All right, so how did this virus get to be so good? Well, it turns out that the virus was basically commissioned. It was given a grant, given the money funded by the Chinese government at the University of North Carolina, mind you. And there was a professor, a Chinese professor, who was inside of the development of this virus, and his name is Zhengli Xin, and this is all in the video that I'm quoting. And so the grant went to the University of North Carolina from China, and then they got the virus. Now, where did they get the cells from? Now, this sounds just like the Stand by Stephen King, but they got the cells that they were going to grow this virus on from, or to get this virus from Fort Detrick, which stores our bioweapons lab. So just like Stephen King's movie, they took the virus, didn't get out here in the animals here, it got out in the animals over in China. So with that, and also the last thing that I want to add is that they also did studies, and the next virus that they're going to put out is coupled with HIV. So they have a virus now, and then they were trying to couple this virus with HIV, and I'm not sure if they were successful, but they're coupling a virus with HIV. So when you get that, you will have no immunity to that, because HIV is an anti-immune deficiency. So you'll have no immunity to anything, and you will subsequently die. And so I really encourage you to take a look at this. Don't take my word for it, but when you see that this is happening, then please look at my candidacy if you're in Washington State. Now, the next thing that I want to talk to you about is things that are happening as a result of what's going on here. And I just want to remind you of every time, say, go back to 9/11, go back to the assassination of John F. Kennedy, when they already had the stories ready for the press. Look at everything that they have done here. They immediately knew, they had all their stories, they had their storylines all ready to go when this virus came out. You also had all of these people selling stock when it came out as soon as they heard how deadly this was. This is a weapons grade virus, so no wonder why they sold their stock. Now, the other thing you need to pay attention to now is today Bill Gates has announced that he has a chip that will tell if you have been immunized from this virus. Now, have you ever heard of a cure for the common cold? It's a virus. They can't cure a virus. That's impossible. This is a weaponized virus. So what is he talking about putting inside you or me? So that is the first thing that came out today. The other thing is that the British Prime Minister is calling for now a global government to combat this virus. Now, we've also seen this with all this grandstanding, and basically they stole $2 trillion out of the United States Treasury that we didn't have. And basically what's going to happen now is that prices are going to skyrocket unless people start to have no need for food because they're no longer around. So those are the things that are happening now, and I just want to reiterate. This virus, it turns out, originally began from a grant from China at the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill. The grant was supervised, the research was supervised by a Chinese national who took the virus back to Wuhan, China. And from Wuhan, that was where it escaped. Now, we've also already seen videos that I've done about how the Americans said in 2017 that China lab was not safe and probably they'd have something get out of that lab because their practices were not very good. Also remember that they are trying to combine this virus with HIV, and we don't know if that has been successful or not. So all of this stuff has been going on since 2010. SARS wasn't what they wanted. It looks like they tried to perfect another one. They had everything in place to come in and basically $2 trillion, what's that going to do? They basically shut down the economy, shut down everybody, put everybody out of work. And for what reason? And nobody thought it through. And the last thing that I want to talk about now that you have to be careful of or watch out for is that, I'm all for science and I'm all for education and I'm all for facts. But what I heard the other night from Fauci, whatever this guy is that's working for Trump, I actually heard him say that he thinks that the virus is hiding. The virus is hiding in populations that we don't even know about in the United States. Well, how could it get there? And nobody picked up on that. He said it's hiding in populations in the United States that are so far isolated from it. So how could it get there? So what are they really talking about? What are they really introducing? Why did they have a plan already in place? And why were they so quick to put everybody out of work? And I want to just throw one last thing in there, because I have a podcast called Encounters USA, where we talk about Bigfoot, aliens, and Dogman. And I just want to say that for years, the government said there was no UFOs. Why? Because they said society would fall apart. And now we have this priesthood, this ruling caste of scientists who just come out and say, oh, there's a virus that we introduced, and now our whole society seems to have fallen apart. Doesn't that just kind of make you wonder? So many years of lying about extraterrestrial life, and in a heartbeat, they're willing to shut down all of society once they had everything in place. Remember, it's 100 years minus 10 since the stock market crash. So now we see what's really going on, who really caused this, and why. And if you need any more convincing, well, time is going to tell. But for right now, enough information is out that you should be aware of what you need to be doing and what you need to not be doing. So, this is Deceptions of the Ages News, and we will see you next time.